I think one, not really a win or a challenge that I found throughout doing this challenge before is that lead gen looks very different even from day to day or from person to person. Like, obviously, the goal is to spend the hour, smiling and dialing, but not all of us are super great on the phone. So, or, depending on what you have going on in your business, smiling and dialing one day might not be the right answer for you. So lead gen for like Nicole and I is if we go and present to a broker team in their office, or if you go to a networking event, or even if you're hanging out with some friends and, real estate comes up and you have a good conversation about real estate and you ask for an appointment, you ask to see who has a friend or a relative that's looking to buy or sell, that counts for your lead generation. So one thing that Scott gets into a little bit later on in the book is talking about what does that look like for you and what are other things that you could be doing that creates these leads for you. Nicole and I, we love working with you guys. Obviously, that's why we're hosting this this challenge. But we've worked with agents before to do things like, smile and dial sessions. We have worked with agents to do homebuyer seminars or other like client appreciation events. All of those things still count. So depending on what your week looks like, depending on what your day looks like, you might decide, Thursday I've got this networking event that I'm going to, I'll be there for an hour and a half. I can put, the smile and dial off to the side maybe for today, knowing that I'm going to be going to that networking event and making some good connections and talking real estate. So keep that in mind as you go through this. You don't feel like you're being put in a box where this is the only option for you, because it's not. You have the creativity to be able to go about this in your own way. And I think that's why the book is really nice and simple, is because he sets up the framework for you, he sets up the structure, and then he kind of is like, all right, you take it from here, you do how you see fit. Even some other ideas that I just thought of, like if you go and do door knocking, if you've got a listing coming up, or there was someone, I forgot who it is, but they became very well known for doing like these apology tours. So basically, like if they have a listing and they have an open house that's happening on a Saturday, a couple days before, they will knock on the doors for the houses around and basically just apologize that there might be some traffic this weekend. I've got this open house, I've got this listing, and then, hey, oh, by the way, are you interested in knowing more about this house? Are you thinking about selling your house? Etc. So,
who had a really good idea for that was actually Jason, who did our realtor safety class.
That's who it was. I knew
that came from an insurance agent. That came from an insurance agent. Yeah. And he said it more as like two-pronged, safety and lead gen. So sometimes, like Ariel said, you guys can get really creative. Like this, for example, is our lead gen for the day, because we're building relationships with you guys and you guys bring us business, right? It doesn't always have to be just calls, as long as it's impactful and you're making specific connections. I mean, you could be in the grocery store. When I first started in general brokerage, I did bold like in the first 2 months, which was a lot. If you guys are with KW, first of all, getting into real estate and then trying to do a program like bold immediately is a lot. So if that's you right now doing this, bless your heart, because it's really similar, just maybe not so many parameters. But I remember somebody in that class talking about how they would go to the grocery store, and every time they went to the grocery store, they wouldn't leave without giving out 5 to 10 cards and talking to people. Sometimes that's just people's thing. So figure out what your thing is. The thing that makes you the most comfortable with the way that you go about meeting people and interacting with people is where you're going to be the most successful in your lead generation, because you're going to want to do it. So if it's not cold calls, then figure out what it is and be productive with the time. But just set an hour aside every day, or like Ariel said, if you've got a lot of showings, closings, something like that on one particular day, then you're going to an event that's 2 hours long on a different day. You can double up like that. So don't feel super stressed about, I have to do calls 1 hour a day, every day. Now, calls are going to be effective. If you go to my Instagram page, there's a story on there about marketing information, and it has some really good stats around calls, emails, what's effective in marketing, what's effective in lead generation. So I suggest checking that out. It's really helpful. So what we were doing as everybody was kind of getting into the meeting is that we were talking about if you have any wins or challenges that you want to share with the group over the last week, anywhere that we can walk you through something or just celebrate with you, put your name in the chat, and then we'll kind of roll through names in the chat. So does anybody have anything that they would like to share? Oh, okay,
so,
go ahead.
Well, so actually, Sky, she said her win was getting caught up on the book. So yay, Sky!
Yay!
But Tally actually put in a nice comment here. Tally, would you like to unmute yourself and talk a little bit about what your little blurb is in the chat?
So for me personally, I am not a person that can just pick up the phone and cold call. That's not how I operate. It's just that puts me into complete anxiety mode. But to counter that, I love to network in person. I network all the time. Between my BNI group, women's, I'm president of the Women's Council of Realtors, so I'm always in the events. I'm at RAR, I'm out and about, always wear something that says, I'm a realtor, shine, shine, shine. So I drum up conversations while I'm out and about all day long. I use my hour in the morning to do follow-up phone calls with the people I've met. So
perfect.
So that makes me feel comfortable because I can connect to somebody. To cold call and say, I don't know you, but please talk to me. Besides, hey, I met you the other day, just wanted to do a follow-up call. You mentioned this in a conversation. I just wanted to follow up with you on it. And that's how I personally do it and love it. And it makes me happy. But I'm also with Sky. I got caught up this morning.
Yes.
Yay.
Cool. A couple
and that's exactly right. Yeah. So
yes.
You don't have to do cold calling for your lead gen. Maybe you went to like a trade show over the weekend or something like that, and you got a list of names. Use your hour window to call those list of names and have a very in-depth and personal conversation versus a networking event is great to meet people in person, get those leads, but it's not always the best to be like, let's sit down and figure out exactly what you need. So that hour window, that's perfect for that. Thank you, Tally. And Carl, you had a win.
Wait, hold on. Before you
move
on, sorry. I want to check in on that because I think that's fantastic. And so I want to ask, what are you using to track these people? I think that's where you could share some value with the group here. So how are you keeping track of all the people that you meet in person?
That's a challenge.
Okay.
Because it depends on what you're doing and how you're doing it. I have, this is the cards I got just from last week attending the Garner Chamber of Commerce event or, whenever it was. So I am slowly going through. So it just depends on the event. So if it's a lot of event where they're handing out the business cards, I collect the cards. I have in my car, I have Ziploc baggies and I stick them in there and I put a memo of the event and the date in them just so I don't
works
forget.
For you. It doesn't have to be complicated. It works. It
doesn't have to be complicated. I have on my phone my notes. So in a course of a day, I'll do it that way. If it's because Tal had to go pick up the kids from carpool that afternoon, I go by my phone log of who I called, and then I log them when I get home. I don't have an easy system. I'm still working on it. But what I'm doing
is an amazing one. No, that's actually a really, really good one because you have a way to capture the information, to organize it, and to follow up on it. That's exactly what you need. So what has Scott given us in the first week that would be an effective tool for organizing that information? Have we gotten there yet? I get confused.
Yeah, a spreadsheet. It's creative. Yes. Do I do it? No, I know. Not all the time.
I know. And me and Ariel made one that we still use. And I have 150 leads on that spreadsheet that I still follow up with until they tell me, leave me the heck alone. Right? Because it works. They come back 3-4 months later, especially in this environment. Rates have come down significantly since November. Anybody you talk to in November, you should be calling. Like, that's a $200 savings. Just here you go. So, I mean, don't quote me on that. I'm not a lender. Do the math, talk to a lender, all that stuff. But it's generally that. So, that's huge. I love that. That was one of the things I wanted to say. And I love that you're being creative about it. And yeah, I would just say that this is what this whole program is about. He knows how this works. He does this. He produces, $100 million a year, Melissa said. He's a top producer, right? So if he can do it, this is the tool he's giving us to make it easier, and it's something you can keep coming back to. So I love it. If you can create a new habit, maybe just start putting it in the spreadsheet, and you'll find that you love that stupid thing. It makes your life so much easier.
The thing is, this is my second time doing this. I have the spreadsheet that I created originally.
Use it.
I did it great and got 50 people on it, and then I forgot about the spreadsheet.
We try to bring it up every day, right? And make notes and changes and stuff. I think if you're just diligent about putting stuff in there and looking at it every day, the rest of it will come. So I'm going to let Ariel move on to the next win.
Yeah, for sure. We're going to do one more win really quickly, and then we'll move on to our 20-minute topic. So Carl, you have the floor. It sounds like you had a win this week. Go ahead and unmute yourself, share with the team or with the group what your win was.
Yes, it's Carol, actually.
Oh, Carol, I'm sorry. I missed the E on there.
Yeah, so I had a win with the sheets because all my leads are all over the place and I'm really like not disorganized, and it was great to have everything just in one place and to feel organized and know what I'm doing from day to day. And then I also visited one of your neighborhoods, Tanglewood, for the first time.
Nice.
And I was so amazed. The homes are gorgeous. And I'm hoping to get someone under contract that's looking in that price range. I made my first social media video and, you know, put it up there. So this is something I've never really done. I'm not a social media person. I do tackle the cold calling sometimes and I want to get better at it. So I would say I had 3 wins this week.
Fantastic. That's awesome news. Y'all don't forget, you can always call me and Ariel. Let us make your jobs easier for you. We want you to come visit all the different locations. We've got a lot of experience with social media, for example. So if you want to partner up on something like that, like, hey, you're going to go visit a community, give us a call. And if we're available, we can help you do that video. I did one with one of my core brokers. It was his very first reel at one of our open houses. And sometimes when you partner like that and you put each other's names on it, it can be really helpful. His very first reel had about 5,000 to 8,000 views. I just don't remember off the top of my head. It was one of my best performing reels as well. And sometimes stuff like that can happen when you just leverage other people. So let us know. We want to see you. We want to see you in real life.
So. And that also feeds right into lead gen. If you put out a great video and you start getting some comments or people messaging you saying, hey, like, I want to know more, get that person in your spreadsheet and call them. You know, that's another great way to just grab some leads that are not cold call leads. Okay.
Just a quick note on that. I ask every single person that walks in my door for their name and their phone number and their email, and every single one of them give it to me. So it's slightly different, I know, being in a new construction model, but sometimes it's just sheer volume and asking every single time, and every single person gives it to me. And because I'm writing it down instead of them writing it down, it's harder to say something fake out loud. You have to think about it than to write it down. So that's why I do that. But just ask them for their phone numbers and their emails and follow up with them.
Worst thing they can say is no, and that's okay. Okay, cool. We're going to slide into our 20-minute topic, which might turn into a 15-minute topic for today, but that's okay. So Nicole and I, we recently had a kind of one-on-one virtual coaching session with our sales team at True Homes with Jeff Shore. If anyone is not familiar with Jeff Shore, he is incredible. If you've ever been in new construction, Jeff Shore really writes books and trainings specifically for on-site agents in new construction, but his strategies really work for general brokerage as well. And I think he's even started to try and branch out into some other realms like that. But what's really cool about him is he gives you easy processes to follow in your client appointments. So if you feel like when you're in an appointment, you're a little dazed, or you don't feel like you know what to do next, or you feel like your clients are really running the appointment and you're not taking control of it, grab a Jeff Shore book. They are very easy. They're pretty short, and he has some very, very great tactics that make it so that you are in control of the appointment. You get the information that you need. You work well with your client. You get them under contract, and you move on. So we have a few notes. Oh, go ahead.
The other thing before we jump into the notes, but the other thing that's going to be really good about Jeff Shore, you guys, is that he's teaching you how to sell in a way that doesn't feel like selling. And you got to remember that that's what your job is. You are a salesperson. You are a representative, but you are also a salesperson. You have your own business and you're running your own business, even if you're on a team, right? And so with that, You always have to be selling your services, not just to your clients, but everybody is a referral partner. So you are selling your services to everybody. And then also on top of that, when you get that client in front of you, you are selling them a house. So what I mean by that is, who has had a client in the last year that you had the perfect house sitting in front of them? It was the perfect opportunity for them, finally, and they just waffled on it, right? Yes, thank you, Edie. Everybody's raising hands. So, yeah, me too, Ariel. These strategies will allow you to sell the house that is right for them to them, but in such a way that they are still making the decision. You're not pushing them. So that's what I love about this as well. It's what we started implementing, and since we started implementing it, we have just taken off. We've been beating goals month after month after month as a team, not just me and Ariel, like the whole team. And True Homes is just doing really well. So let's go on and share some important notes. All right, so I'll go. I've got the notes, so you guys get to listen to me mostly today, and then Ariel's going to chime in with her thoughts. So one of the things that's really important about Jeff that he talks about is influencing the psychology of persuasion. You got to think about how people are thinking. That's what he sat down and he said. He said, guys, we're not going to talk about sales tactics today. We're going to talk about buyer mindset, because that's where, if you put your focus, or seller mindset for you guys. The most recent one I would highly suggest, it's about the shifting market. And so, Ariel, if you could maybe go to the website while I'm chatting and then put the link in there for it. He has quite a few. So with that, the buyer mindset is how we're all going to win. The seller mindset, whatever it is, the mindset of your client is how we're all going to win. The client, us, you guys, everybody is going to get to that end goal. So every customer is on a mission to improve their life in some way. This is all very basic stuff, but if we remember these things and get back to the basics, and if this is you, if this is new for you, then this is a great opportunity to develop great habits. That's why you're here. But remember that everybody you're talking to is trying to improve something about their life. So that means something's wrong. So what is it that's wrong? There's always so many different things in their face. It's a difficult time, but whatever their need is so important that they want to pick up their entire life and move it somewhere else. The example that Jeff gave us was, all right, who has a garage? Anybody have a garage, storage unit, something like that? Okay, cool. Go home, pack the whole thing up. Go put it in boxes, right? And then go unload it again. And now, how many of you really want to go do that? Nobody? It's like crickets. Not me. Yes, exactly. So why are they doing it? There's a reason, and it's got to be a good one, right? So sometimes they give you very surface level reasons. Dig for that reason. It's one of the first things we ask now in our appointments. Why are you moving? It throws everybody off because they're not expecting it, and they're very honest most of the time. And then everything else comes from that. How many bedrooms do I want? What square footage do I want? Is the yard important to me? Do I need a garage? Do I need new? Do I need old? What do I need? Is money an issue? It all comes out of that conversation. So that's a really, really important one. So how early in the process are you asking people why? Are you just launching into things? Are you forgetting about that part because we were just into a market where everybody wanted to move all the time and you're just trying to get them into a house? But how early are you asking that question? Is it in the first 60 seconds of meeting somebody? That feels a little uncomfortable, I think. I can only see a couple faces, but I can imagine everybody's like, oh, that what? I just met them. I do it all the time. It works. People are excited about that, especially if you're in an open house and you're meeting people. So why are you moving? This is a big one. Tell me more. Why now? What's changed recently? Second level questions are going to be huge with this. They now feel so important and they trust you so much because you care about them. That's going to be huge for them. So the tougher a market gets, the stronger that person's motivation has to be to move. That's one of the things, I think, Ariel, chime in here. What did we see over the last 3 months?
Yeah, so, last year when interest rates were really high, we saw a huge change in our traffic. Just went from super, super busy to very, very quiet. So the few people that we did see, we knew that they were serious because everyone knew that the interest rates went up. Everyone knew that we weren't in multiple offers anymore and those kinds of things. So clearly there was still a strong enough need for those people that they were willing to fight that fight, pay the high interest rates, figure it out to change their living situation. And then as the interest rates dipped down over the past couple of months, all of a sudden people are coming back out of the woodworks, and it's spring market. It's going to happen naturally in the cycle of sale of real estate anyways. But now we have more people who are willing to, they find that it's easy enough for them to make that decision.
Yeah. So when you remember that and you're like, man, the market's strong or market's tough, nobody wants to buy a house. That's not true. The people in front of you very much want to. They might not feel comfortable showing you why. So figure out the why. Mm-hmm. The buyers are not supposed to be urgent. The number one predictor of urgency is dissatisfaction. So let that one sink in. They're not supposed to be urgent. Maybe they need to be, but that is not their inherent quality, right? Maybe their particular situation dictates that they should be, and you need to show them why, and that's where your salesmanship comes in, right? So remember, that's how you are a salesperson. So they're not moving to anything until they're moving from where they are. One of the second level questions I ask people all the time is, tell me what you love and tell me what you hate about your current house. Those are going to be two hugely important questions. And this is all stuff that a lot of us knew. I see Edie like nodding. She might have been really good and been doing it the whole time, but I know I wasn't. I'll be honest. It was like, hey, I got 3 houses. There's 15 people. What you need? You know, like, so we got to get back to this because this is a normal market now. Well, normal for North Carolina and Raleigh specifically. Okay. So when we know our customers well enough, then the sales starts to roll out in front of us. This is beautiful. So when me and Ariel do our job appropriately on the front end, and people allow us to go through this process, right? The smoothest possible customer ever. It just rolls out. What happened Saturday, Ariel?
Yeah, so Saturday is a great example. I had a couple who had actually scheduled an appointment to come in Tuesday, but were super excited and came in on the weekend unannounced, which is totally fine. And they came in, we went through the entire process. We talked about what they were moving from, what they were looking for. We talked about floor plans. We found the right one for them. We walked the lot. And then at the end, the client asked me, what's the next step? And in my head, I was like, wait, I'm supposed to be telling you what the next step is. I'm supposed to be the one telling you. But the client was so bought in that they asked me, what's the next step? And I said, the next step is we go back to the model and sign the contract. And she said, okay, we'll follow you back. And I said, okay, great, see you there. So this does not happen, I would say, super often, especially with builds. They are a little bit more complicated sometimes. But when you have found the right solution for your client, like Nicole said, the sale rolls out right in front of you, and then they feel like I've made the decision. I have found the solution with my salesperson, my realtor, whatever, and the next step is obvious.
Mm-hmm. One of the very first things that Jeff said to us was, and this resonates a lot with True Homes, the way you're going to win over your competition. So you guys think about all the different builders you've gotten to see besides True Homes in the last couple of years. The way you're going to win over your competition, True Homes, is to be kind. That one was hugely impactful to me. That's part of what we do all day at True Homes. So we just don't think about it. We just do it. But this is important to you guys too. Just be kind. Just think about why they're doing this. Remember that they're people, not transactions. We are shifting out of a market where, at least on the new construction side, people still don't get up out of their chair. They haven't adjusted to that. They just sit in their chair in the office, point you to some flyers, and tell you there's some homes down the road. They're not adjusting, right? If you're kind and you get up and you say hello and you offer them some freshly baked cookies on the weekend that me and Ariel make and a water, and you start asking them about them, these are the kinds of things that will make you stand out so much more. Following up with value, that's being kind. Remember that these aren't just ways for you to make money. This is hugely important to their life. You are the best thing that could happen to them. And if you can help them, then they're going to be in a good place. They're getting where they want to go. So that was a huge one for us. Let me see. So, oh, this one was big. Okay, this is important even to you guys, I think, especially on agency. And I think that not enough agents try. There's one sitting right in front of my face, though. But there's not enough of them who at the open house try for the agency and try for the sale. They get like flustered. Edie sold 2 homes with us from open houses and gotten I don't know how many leads. So yeah, it can be done. All right, how many of you guys ask for agency in the first conversation? Raise your hands or put your little like digital hands up. Okay, I see ya. All right, this is something that we don't do enough of in new construction, and since we started focusing on, it has gone haywire. So start tracking how often you're asking for the agency or the sale or whatever on that first visit, that first conversation. You felt like you're being ghosted when you asked. It might have to do with how you're asking. So if you want, get with me and we can talk about that a little bit more. Or put it in the chat. There's some great people in this Facebook group. Ask them that question. I think that's actually a really good thing to do. So bonus points if you go ask, because there's going to be a lot of different people who have different insights to general workers, new construction, and experience. It's probably just learning how to do it in a way that doesn't feel salesy to people. Not saying that you're automatically doing it that way. I don't want to throw shade at you in any kind of way, but a lot of people can do it. Yeah, put it in the Facebook group. So I'm just going to keep moving here so that we can keep on time with track. But if you want one-on-one with me, just let me know. So there is 2 pieces to this. It's really important. Your buyers are constantly taking in information. This is just biology. We have 2 processes in our brain. The one that's taking everything in all the time subconsciously, and we're just dealing with that information. And then the conscious brain that's consciously making decisions and taking information in. So you have to remember that. We have to remember it all the time in our sales process. That's why you'll see us multiple times. So this is your dining room. So this is your back porch. This is your front porch. They need to digest it into pieces. So when you're walking through a house with somebody, that's how you kind of get that. Get the yes like 5, 6 times before you ask for the yes at the end. That's how you're gonna be more successful. And that's simply because if you give people all this information, agency, selling their house, buying a house, whatever, you info dump on them. And then at the end, you look at them and you say, okay, so you ready? What is the number one thing they're gonna say? And why are they gonna say no?
Think about it.
I want to think about it. Because they literally have to think about it. You haven't given them a chance to think about it through the process. So start implementing that when you're doing your agency paperwork in your open house, because you're good and you brought your agency packet with you to the open house and you're explaining agency right there in front of them and all the different things you have of value. Stop at different moments and get a yes from them. It'll be effective. Do tie downs. That's what the yes no question is. Is this your home? Is the last one the last one? But you should have multiple ones before it. Buyers can't argue with themselves. It is actually a thing in your brain. It's very, very hard for your brain to argue with itself, right? So again, biology here. They won't argue with themselves. So if you get them tied down on the home site for us, the floor plan, that's a big decision, by the way. So if you're assisting with new construction, don't just float past that. The floor plan is usually the middle of the process and is a big decision for them. So don't try to scoot past that part. Let us kind of guide this process through if you're coming to see us, because obviously there's a lot of strategy behind this. But just knowing how that works can assist in other new construction communities when maybe the salespeople there don't have the same process that we do. Establish a cadence of agreement questions. Ariel, what is the phrase that has gotten us more closes since October?
Well, I know one that I always have in the back of my mind from a previous builder that I use. They always used to say, the more you cite, the more you write, which means the more houses you see, the more lots you walk, the more contracts you're going to write. I don't know if that was the right answer, though.
That's not what I was going for. That's a good one. What is it that you and I personally say at every stage of the way when we're moving into the next stage?
Oh, what I recommend is
Yep. So what I recommend is normally next steps are, right? That one's huge because it makes people feel like they're doing what's normal. This is normal, right? But you're setting a cadence. So even what I recommend, right, does that too. So what I recommend we do next is this. Normally next steps are this, right? You're setting a cadence and then ask a question. So like normally next steps would be that we go take a look at the lots. How do you feel about that? Actually, even better, I messed myself up. What do you say we go do that? That's more of a yes or no. Don't ask open-ended tie downs. All right, so to close on visit 1, the longer someone stays in the process, the greater they chance they become detached emotionally from their buying decision. So remember that now that the process is taking longer, the longer they are looking for homes, the longer they are thinking about selling their home, the more emotionally detached they're going to become from that. And on the buy side, they need to be emotionally tied in. 85% of the buying decision is from our emotional core. Even if they are an analytical person, this is still true. It's tied to something in their emotions there. If I ask for the close on visit 1, the conversation they have when they leave the house is not, do I like this house, but do I want to buy this house? Same thing with working with you. If you ask for the agency in your open house the right way, and you go about this the right way, then even if they don't say yes right then, when they leave, their conversation isn't even going to be about that open house anymore. It's going to be about you as their agent. She was really great. He was really great. They explained so much stuff for me. And then you were able to get that thought in their head that you are the expert. And you're not being rejected when they say no that first time. You're shortening your cycle. So they did a study on this in new construction on how many people were buying in the visit 1, visit 2, and then the third one was visit 3+, I believe, right? No, visit 3 and then 4+, I think. And that's where all this information is coming from. And the interesting thing is they did it 15 years ago, and then they did it again a few years ago, and the data almost completely matches, and it's very consistent with what we see every day. And so with that, it's something like less than 25% or somewhere around there that close on the first visit. Then the second visit pops up to like in the 40s, right? The third visit then goes into the teens again. And then at that point, I think it was like 90% almost of all people who actually buy are going to buy on visits 1 through 3, and then it heavily drops off. The same cycle is going to apply to any type of home sales that you're doing. So just keep that in mind. The tighter you can get that, the more efficient you can be with them in your sales process. It saves them time and money, and it saves you time and money. And it makes you the rock star.
What I used to do at the end of my appointments is I would track, okay, when I'm finishing an appointment with a client, there's going to be 2 outcomes. We're either going to have the sale, we're going to go under contract, I'm going to get the buyer agency, I'm going to get the listing contract, whatever that is, whatever the win or the sale is, or there is a definitive next step. We talk to the lender. We plan to meet on Friday to go look at houses. Your listing will be going live on Saturday, whatever the case may be, but there is no think about it, I'll follow up. You know, there's no gray area there. It is, I have the sale or there's a next step. And at the end of the day, the only other third option is, sorry, this isn't going to work out and you part ways for whatever reason that may be. So that's what I used to keep track of when my conversion was low years ago, is at like once the client had left, I sat down and I said, okay, did I have one of those 2 outcomes? And if I didn't, what did I not do that got me to be in that situation where I had one of those 2 outcomes? And usually it just came down to, I forgot to ask, or I just didn't ask enough questions to be able to do that, or I just chickened out. You know, it can be as simple as like, I got nervous and they had to leave because they had to go pick up their kids. This is one question that I would end every single appointment with. Do we have a sale? Are we going under contract? Are we doing the listing? Or what date, time, homework is going to be done in whatever time frame may be as next steps. There is no other option.
And I think what's really important with this is doing it in person, or if you're virtual, doing it before you get off the call. Trying to do that in a follow-up email is really ineffective It might work sometimes, but it's not going to work as well as doing it when you can see their face. People have a harder time telling you no, by the way, when they can see your face. So virtual calls are better than phone calls if you have the time. Okay, a couple things. The why behind the what on that. Why are we trying to do all these things, shorten their cycle? Is it about me making money? No, it's not for me. And I know for people starting out or struggling, that's the hard part, because you're like, it is for me. I need the money. I need it bad, right? But the moment you can step out of that, and I've done it, I made $10,000 in 6 months in general brokerage my first year. It was rough. I was supporting family too. So like, if you can step out of that at all, and remember, it's not for me. I'm not the one who's gonna be motivated for them. It's their only time doing this. Even if it's their second house, their third house, their sixth house, it's the only time they're buying that sixth house. You know, it's gonna be unique, and it's their whole experience. So don't forget, this is what we do all the time. This goes back to being kind. If we care, we're gonna outperform everybody else. You just have to be strategic about how you implement everything. Now I'm going to end on this. Who has their phone charging next to them on their bed or beside their bed every night? Yeah? 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 Everybody? Okay. What's the first thing you do when you wake up? Anybody?
Check all my notifications.
Yeah, you look at your phone. You look at your phone. And what else is on your phone besides like personal stuff? People's deals blowing up. People telling you that they decided they're going to wait. Generally just hard stuff to deal with and bad news. A lot of times is the first thing you're going to pay attention to, because it's first thing in the morning and you're thinking to yourself, oh, I just got to do the important stuff right now. Then I can get up. Then I can get going. So you're starting your day with something stressful. Imagine if instead of your phone, you had an alarm clock, or like me, I have 2 phones. I have a personal phone, I have a work phone. My work phone stays downstairs charging. And I started implementing that after talking with Jeff. It has been huge for my mindset. Because now when I wake up, if I do look at my phone, I don't have anything work related on that phone. It's going to be fun stuff on Instagram, motivational quotes. I have a manifest app. It's going to be stuff like that. Or the very first thing that I do, I took from Jeff too. My dogs don't sleep in my room. They sleep in a different room. They have their own room, but they sleep in crates. The first thing that I do now is get up and either go get a coffee and then go get them, or go get them and then go get a coffee and go outside and enjoy my yard. It's so much serotonin pumping through you to do something fun first thing in the morning, something that makes you happy. Try implementing that, and that positive mindset shift will allow you to do all of these things throughout the day, because you'll be pumped. You'll be excited. You just got to hug your puppy or your baby, or you looked at your spouse and did something fun in that 20 minutes in the morning that you would normally be scrolling. That sounded highly inappropriate. I didn't mean it that way. I meant get up and go have coffee. But anyways, that really is it. And then the other thing that Jeff said, actually, that I think I want to leave off on, that I thought was huge. Who do I serve next? Remember that one. Who am I serving next? Every time somebody walks in that door for that open house, every time you start a new conversation, who are you serving next? How can you help these people? It'll make it a lot easier to go have those lead gen calls or grocery store conversations. Oh, yay. I know. Well, your dog's famous, Edie. Your dog is famous with all social media posts. That's amazing. Okay, so you guys, we went over on time, but this was really cool information. I'm going to let Ariel make some last comments, and then if anybody has any questions or wants to stay on and chat about anything, we are here. We are actually going to an event with Movement. That's why they're not on today. Sorry, we kind of bypassed right on past that. We got busy. It's called Grab the Key. Movement does these awesome, huge homebuyer events. If you have time at 11 o'clock to go to Raleigh, Ariel, is there any way you can put in the chat the link?
Working on it.
Cool. There's still some spots left. They do this up big. Yay! Okay, we'll see you there. So I'm going to be there. Ariel has to go to work. So if you want to come see me, come see me. If you got buyers, go see Ariel. And call us about anything. If it's $300 or actually now $289.9 for the townhomes. We have a townhome available for $289,900 with up to 4% in seller paid closing costs is what they updated to this morning. It depends on their loan amount and how they can do that. But anyways, we have $289,900 up to $634,000. So anything in there, call us. Okay, Ariel.
That just about wraps it up. Thanks for sticking with us while we went over a few minutes. If anyone has any questions or wants to chat with us, we'll just be hanging out here. Otherwise, I hope everyone has a great week and look forward to seeing your wins next week for your lead generation from this coming week.
Oh, we forgot. Okay, don't go nowhere.
Oh, yeah, we do actually have a special announcement too.
Yes, okay. You guys get to be first to know because you showed up to the call. All right, so does everybody know who the author of this book is? His name is Scott Groves. So if I say Scott Groves, you know who I'm talking about, right? You're not just blindly doing this book. Okay. Scott is going to do a special session at a happy hour event that we're going to host for everybody doing this challenge. We are so excited. It's going to be in 2-ish weeks, right?
Yep. End of February.
Yep. We're going to do it at the Movement office, which is nice and big so that everybody can see him on the screen. I'd love to have him in person, but he's going to be virtual. He's in California. He's going to be on the screen, and it's going to be time like this, him and all of us. And so we're going to have a few minutes for him to come in, and he's going to talk about what's important in this challenge and the information he has. I've done this with him. He's become actually really great professional connection, and he's fantastic. He charges for this, you guys. He charges for coaching. So come, have some drinks, have some wine. And I think we're doing wine and cheese, something like that. Something fun. Network, make some new connections with people who are going to make you better at who you are, and come listen to Scott. So we'll send out the details on that, but you guys get to know first.
Yay. Okay,
Yay.
We promised that was the last thing.
That was it for real.
But like I said, if you have questions, you want to chat with us, feel free to unmute yourself or throw it in the chat window. Otherwise, we look forward to seeing you next week.